welcome to PhD&D here on YouTube, and I want to thank you for watching. This will be the introduction to the world building series that I have been talking about and have coming up here. So, in this introductory video, what I'm going to talk about is kind of the design of the series, how things are going to go. I wanted to kind of lay out that it's going to focus more on fantasy, but I hope to portray a lot of different aspects that can be used for all genres, just for world building in general. So once again, it's just an introductory video that'll kind of get you prepared for the rest of the series. Now I'm going to have the series of videos is going to be applicable to anyone. I'm trying to get it so that people just starting can dive in and start world building, as well as some more advanced people that have played for a lot longer. So I do want to say that I'm going to finish up the series at the very end with I guess if you want to call them more advanced couple of videos for individuals who have done this for a while and want to see some really, really good in-depth content for them. And it will revisit a few of the topics presented throughout the series in a more detailed fashion, if you will. So that can be an option for anyone willing to kind of check those out once it comes about. So there will be some advanced videos near the end, and like I said, I just want this to be usable by anyone, not just people that have taken part in world building before. So I want to talk first about inspiration, because you're going to need some source of inspiration for world building, and you need to really find out what that is. Sometimes when you want to build a world, a lot of the times it's because you've already got your inspiration. You've got an idea and you want to kind of flesh that out. That's fantastic. You need to, first of all, I like to say, write down your capstone statement. Sorry about that. That's just a statement that's going to kind of lay the overall foundation for what you're trying to accomplish. And that statement can change throughout, and it probably will. So write down kind of your purpose. Maybe you want a video in your not a video, maybe you want a world, and your capstone statement is something along the lines of, I want a Tolkien-ish Middle-earth type world with a Viking spin on it. That's a capstone statement right there. Kind of gives you direction, gives you some purpose, and you've got it written out so you can always jump back to that and stay on track, because world building is very, very easy to get off track. We'll talk about that later, but sometimes that can be good too. I like to also tell everyone, find your creative place or space to do as much of your world building there as possible. Find, a quiet place at your home or at a library somewhere, a coffee shop, whatever, and make that your place for world building. You can do world building anywhere, but if you've got a certain spot, it's kind of like studying for school. If you've got a certain spot where you get in the mindset, it's going to be that much easier to continue on. So I like to have a kind of a quiet area. Maybe you have a certain kind of drink every time, like you like to make hot tea or coffee or something. That's great. And with that goes music. I love music for world building, so I've always got my world building playlist going for that. It just kind of really gets the creative juices flowing. So find a place, and for that inspiration, if you don't have it, places to look around would be, popular novels, sci-fi, fantasy, whatever you're kind of looking at. Current RPG settings. The first one that jumps to mind is Forgotten Realms. One of the most fleshed out campaign settings there is. So look at what all they've got, steal from that. Take your inspiration, because when you finish your project, it's going to be something different. You don't have to worry that you're going to just steal everything. It's going to become its own thing, so don't worry about that. Take what you can. Look around to movies. Movies you like can really inspire you, just even little details. And always be writing these things down. If a certain aspect of a world you really like, jot it down so you can use it in your world. It's not like you're trying to take a whole setting every time. Just get those inspirations for the little things all the way throughout. And then look to world history. That's a big one. Look at how civilizations have been. If you really admired one or admired some part of a civilization, take that and put it into your world. Because world history is one of the richest places to find good stories, to find, actual events that were fleshed out, so they're kind of prepared for you to really give you good inspiration. Now, the tools of the trade for world building, you're going to have a medium through which you do all this building and creating and storing this information. Now, you can do spreadsheets to keep track of information. That's fine. You can do Word documents. You can do, there's plenty of websites with online wikis. That's what I tend to use for part of mine, just to keep track of it. Gives my players access to it, and I can link up certain characters to certain places, things like that. Or good old-fashioned spiral notebooks. And I would recommend, no matter which medium you use, to have a spiral notebook set aside for that purpose. That way you can kind of have easy access if you see a video, like I said, a movie, or you're reading a book and you get something that inspires you and you want to use, you can jot it down real quick. You don't have to get on your computer and do all that. So kind of choose your medium, the tools you want to use, and have that set in mind so you're just ready to go at the beginning. Next, I kind of want to talk about two approaches to world building as I see it. There's organic world building versus layering. What I mean by that, first of all, I'll start with layering. Layering is where you start with one layer. Like you're going to start on a certain subject, geography, and you're going to lay out the geography of an area. Now layering, next you would do the people in that area, and so forth. And you're just adding on layers and layers and layers, and maybe you finish with government, set form of government. I see that as you're layering one on top of the other, and that you just kind of fill your world one thing at a time. That's great. That's an approach you're going to partially use all the way through, because between these two approaches I talk about, it's not usually going to be either or. There's going to be a little bit of both you're using. So then the organic that I'm talking about is an approach where your world helps you kind of build itself. You set it, you set things in motion, you come up with, you start with gods, you come up with the gods. Based on the gods you came up with, what type of world would they create? And you kind of let that flow. Well, we've got God A, which is God of fire. He's the most powerful. The next most powerful is God of wind or something like that. That's going to really impact what your world looks like. Your world's going to look like a flaming hell, basically. But you're letting one thing influence into the next, and you're using the step before to really flesh out the next step. And that is what I think is the best approach. Like I said, you'll probably end up using a little of both, but organic world building, you let it create itself. You create a few things and let them just kind of take motion and go. And I believe that's going to create the most realistic, the most real feeling worlds. They're going to be more alive and more fun for your game. Now, you have to also realize with world building, it's a very back and forth type of thing. Just because you started out with gods, let's say, and moved on, doesn't mean you can't go back and work on the gods. You may need to. If you get to a certain point and realize, I'd like to change something, or this is going to change something about the gods, jump back. You're going to be back and forth all over the place, so just be prepared for that. Now, you need to do a little bit of research for world building, I believe, but beware of doing too much or too little. Have a basic knowledge of geography. That's always going to help. If you have some inconsistencies with real-world geography, which is fine, it's a fantasy setting, it can be whatever you want, just be prepared to explain why they're different, because those are great opportunities for stories about your world, for the facts about your world. Why is it that deserts are full of rivers when in reality they're not, they don't have a lot of rivers, if any, in a lot of deserts? So why is that? Come up with the story behind it. Just, like I said, have a basic knowledge of geography so you know that when things are conflicting, you've got a point to put a story at. But like I said, fantasy can override anything. Just be prepared to explain why and know why it does in your world. Also, general assumptions that people sometimes have can impact the way players see your world. So just be aware of general assumptions. I'm talking things like laws of physics, laws of nature, gravity is a big one. They're just going to kind of assume gravity works the same way in your world unless you say otherwise. They're going to assume that if there is day and night, there's going to be a sun. Just big assumptions. Just be prepared to have addressed those throughout, so that if you want them differently, your characters are going to know that from the front, because they're just going to assume quite a bit about your world if they're not told up front about it. So those major things, just if they're consistent with the real world, let them be. If they're not, really make sure they know that they're not, because that can affect gameplay in a lot of ways. I will say that with world building, there comes kind of a caution and a warning, and a lot of people have laid this out, and a lot of you know this. It requires a ton of time to put into world building, and you can honestly put in as much as you want. I have a ton of fun with it, so I'm always putting in just tons and tons of time, and a lot of the work can go unnoticed by your players, by the people that are kind of interacting with it. So just be prepared for that. It's kind of like a game, though. If you're a GM and you're running a game, a lot of times a lot of your work does go unnoticed. That's fine. If you enjoy doing it, keep doing it. Find ways to bring it in so they do notice it in your game. And I'll talk a little later about cooperative world building. I'm not a big fan of it. Certain ways I am, but a lot of times, and I think Samwise 7RPG said this the best in one of his world building videos, was a lot of times it just kind of comes back like group projects. You can get started with everyone, and then it kind of falls back to you. Everybody kind of drops off, loses interest, so just be prepared for that if you do attempt it. But when done right, world building is definitely worth it. That's, again, my opinion, but you have great worlds. I enjoy the process as well, but it can really, really change your game up. Other references I kind of want to make this first time is there are a lot of world building videos out there in the community, so check them out. I've been watching a lot of them just to get ideas, make sure I've seen different viewpoints at it, because I don't just want to throw my views into it. I want videos that are really going to help you. So check out the ones that come to mind and remind me if there's more, and I'm sure I've seen more, but the two major ones that come to mind right now are Anders' channel, Wood WWAD. He's got a great world building series. It's fantastic. And Samwise 7RPG has a couple of really good videos where he goes really into detail about it, and he's got some good ideas. So be sure to check those out, as well as look forward to the ones that I'll be having come out. This, like I said, was just very introductory. Kind of want to present what it's all going to be about, but start with the topics, try to get a video out every week, if not more, and finish the series with some more advanced world building videos that kind of revisit the topics for a more advanced, mature audience that has done a lot of this and is looking for some new things. So once again, thanks for watching. Check out those other world building videos. Remind me if there's any others, and I'll try to put some links below to their videos. Thanks again for watching. Have a great day.